Yeah, let's get rolling. Steve Cona, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And you are the president of the Builders Association
Yep,
here.
I'm the president of Associated Builders and Contractors.
Associated Builders and Contractors. And you represent commercial construction as well as industrial
Yep.
contractors.
Commercial and industrial contractors. We have about 650 member companies part of the organization. And our chapter goes from Gainesville all the way down to Marco Island, but we're based here in Tampa.
Oh, wow. So it's greater than the Tampa Bay area.
Oh, yeah.
It's like the whole west coast of Florida.
Yep, we have the whole region, and we deal a lot with local governments from Gainesville all the way down to Marco Island.
And I mean, there's so much variation between the local governments and everything in between, right? All these different municipalities do business differently.
100%. We have 4 in Hillsborough County.
4 in Hillsborough County. How many in Pinellas? There's like...
Oh, every beach community has their own.
That's so crazy.
Pinellas is a nightmare, especially around the beaches, right?
Can you look up, David, how many municipalities are in Pinellas County? It's actually insane. I want to say there's like 40 or something like that.
It's pretty close. Every beach community has their own.
Because like even like Gulfport is its own little
Yep.
town. They have their own police.
Yep.
All the above.
All of it.
Yeah, I can't imagine being a contractor over there. That
No,
must
the
be
rules change like you go down, a block and it's a different strategy.
24. Okay,
Yeah, 24.
24 incorporated municipalities. Yeah, and Hillsborough County has a lot more people, but only 4.
Only 4.
What is it? Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City,
And Hillsborough County.
and then Hillsborough County.
Yep.
Wow.
We got 1 tax collector and 4 permitting departments.
Holy smokes.
And they have 1 tax collector and 24.
Is there a county that, I guess it would be Duval and Jacksonville, right? They've got a sort of a centralized
They're
government.
consolidated. Yep.
So do you interact with them at all about how they move through permits in their building department with that consolidated government?
I think permitting statewide, and we have a state association, so we battle permitting all throughout the state. Permitting is bad everywhere. It's a little bit more consolidated when you have 1 municipality telling you what to do.
Sure.
Here we have 4, and they all have different rules of engagement. And the beach obviously has 24 different ones.
Let's dig into this. This is interesting. I've thought about this recently. Would it ever make sense to just have a Florida permitting department?
Statewide permitting, I think, especially on the commercial side.
Sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the things that we've talked about as an association is we have statewide permitting. People go in and they file the permit in one time and the rules are the same. The building code is the same. It makes sense to me.
It sort of does make sense, but you said commercial. So you're not speaking for the, home builders and stuff like that.
No, and I think, local municipalities have, when you have houses and homes and remodels, you can bog down the system. But for commercial projects and big projects, statewide permitting makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Right. Yeah, it seems like it does make sense. I wish I had like any sort of devil's advocate position, but I couldn't tell you any sort of cons against it. I mean, what would be the downsides if you had a statewide permitting system?
Well, it's loss of revenue to local government. Somebody's going to get the revenue, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's always what it is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always what it is.
Unless you could have some sort of a sharing system or whatever that may be.
Right. And
Depending on where the permit's pulled.
We do that with property taxes now. It's a sharing system. So
Yeah, there's these interesting shakeups. I mean, even regarding property taxes, right? That's an issue at the state level that we're all sort of talking about. There are these shakeups in Florida at every level of government.
Yep.
Because we just simply have an unbelievable amount of people that have moved here. 24 million people. I think when I was born there was like 15 million,
Right.
So there's these growth challenges that are coming to a head.
right.
And so I think everyone is looking at the entire system thinking, how do we improve this whole thing? Because certainly the way it is very gummy, it's very antiquated, and it seems like it's inhibiting good progress while the iron has been hot.
Right.
And if we stick in this situation and you have another COVID-esque wave of insane migration, man, prices are going to escalate even further. I mean, really the main issue why we have price unaffordability here is because we had an unprecedented level of demand and not enough supply to capture the demand.
No, you're 100% correct. And the one thing that I always say too, government hasn't really evolved when it comes to permitting. It's the same process. It's the same group of people doing things the same way that they've always done it. And with the technology that there is now with AI and all of this stuff and a statewide building code, like there is no reason for a permit to take a year.
Yeah.
You have people that are still trying to get into their homes from the last hurricane because, their permits aren't fixed.
Yeah, and I've heard the mayor talk about this, and I think they've had 23 or 26,000 permits or something crazy this year. I think the bottom line is they are just dealing with an unbelievable amount of permits,
Yep.
period. I mean, that is a factor that needs to be figured out. And it probably can be figured out in some ways through tech, right? Like AI or whatever that may be.
I've seen programs. We have members who are part of the association that you put the plan right into AI and it tells you exactly where the flaws are. It spits it out in seconds. It does a review in seconds.
Yeah, I mean, something like that, right? And even furthering that technology,
Sure.
developing that technology. Who's the guy you probably know? His family owns Coastal Construction. He's
Yep.
a second generation,
Yeah, the
maybe.
Murphys, right?
The Murphy. I think his name is Patrick Murphy, the
yep.
younger guy.
Correct.
He's on social media talking about this new program where you could have these building plans that were sort of pre-approved, right? Through an AI platform, you could say, here's my lot. It can give you 10 different options for a floor plan that's already been vetted by permitting.
Right.
And so you could have these express ways to move forward with building. To me, that sounds like the future.
It is the future. And if they're not starting to embrace AI, because right now, like you said, you put these permits in, it'll spit out all of the comments in 30 seconds. That usually takes months for somebody to do that.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you go through the process and let the system get to a point where then finally somebody can say, okay, we've read what AI says. We've done our internal review. I mean, that should take 30 days. Like, it shouldn't take, years.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the mayor and some people in the staff level definitely talk about AI. It sounds like that's something at least Tampa is going to be implementing.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think they stair step into things, and I think they go very slowly. I think it's a kind of a crawl into it, but they need to be investing in it because there's no way that we're going to be able to meet the demand of everything that we have coming, especially to the greater Tampa Bay region, if we don't get a hold of permitting. And look, city officials, government officials, they're not going to be able to do it by themselves. So they have to make sure they invest in private providers. Let's get engineers on board to be able to do the inspections, do the reviews. You have to allow the private sector to help in this process because if you're trying to do it by yourself, it's not going to happen.
And like you said, there's probably going to be human oversight, right?
Sure.
The AI organizes it, puts it through some sort of software, and then a human can go, okay, check.
Right.
Let's move it forward.
Right.
So the next thing is the impact fees, right? So, so first of all, David, what do you have pulled up? Tampa launches virtual building inspections for faster approvals. VOOS-PEX integration streamlines inspections for electrical, plumbing, and roofing permits. So this is pretty interesting. What are you tracking with this here? Have you been tracking this?
I know a lot of our members are using it for inspections, and I think it works great. Anytime that you can streamline the process and schedule inspections, I think that's great.
Yeah, I mean, in 2025, with all the new technology, especially with AI, it seems like a no-brainer.
Right.
It says here the chief building official, J.C. Hutchinson in Tampa, performs more than 120 trade inspections each day. That's what I said earlier about the volume that these municipalities deal with. I mean, it's really like a volume issue.
Scheduling it is one thing, but you still have to have somebody go out and do it. And that's the other problem. I mean, JC he's the chief building official and he's doing inspections. So,
Wow. So is it they need to hire more people issue?
I think they need to, I don't know if you need to hire more people. I think you need to invest in letting the private sector come in and help be vendors to the process.
Well, it seems like they're on the right track with this virtual inspection. I guess it's an application for your phone where you can put in your information, probably take pictures, stuff like that.
Yep. Schedule it and they come out but you still need a physical person to come out. So you need a lot of people because now it's easy to schedule, right? So now those have to be backing up.
Ah, yeah, true. You've got all these great schedules and everyone's excited, but then can the people actually make it out in an equally efficient manner?
Right.
And then the other thing, David, I wanted you to pull up was the impact fees. So pull up that Times article because this is like a hot button issue right now.
Yep.
Impact fees, right? So Tampa's impact fees were last set in 1989, which is crazy. I think we could all argue, hey, look, these probably should have been increased all the while.
They should have been stair-stepping it through the process.
Yeah.
Meet the demand of, the city.
Here's the thing though. There's always been, at least traditionally in the city, certainly not true today, but definitely was true, 15, 20 years ago. Hey, we need to kind of keep the doors open. We need to keep that red carpet rolled out, so to speak. We
Right.
want development. We want investment. We want companies to move here. We want ambitious people to come build projects. I would assume they didn't raise it was out of fear. Hey, we want to keep that kind of development flowing. Now the fire hydrant's been opened,
Yep.
right? It's still flowing through. And so we're kind of in this position where you probably could raise the impact fees and
Sure.
not necessarily dramatically affect demand because we're in it city, right?
Right.
We've got the hard part solved. Private sector wants to be here. Um,
For now.
for now. And that's not always the case.
Right.
But it makes sense that you would raise it. The question is how much. And like we were talking about before we jumped on here, anytime you raise anything dramatically overnight, it immediately affects the economics of it.
100%.
And so they definitely need to be careful with this.
They do. I mean, you can see that, right now the fee is roughly 1770, and that number is going to climb to 6,600. I mean, that's a big,
Hundreds of percent.
yeah, that's a big jump. That's a big jump. And, when they increase fees, if you stair step it, 25% and just see how it works, always gauge it. You raise it too dramatically, then you're starting to offset. I mean, you can't talk about affordability and raise fees. Like that can't be in the same sentence.
And at the same time, affordability has decreased in the last 5 years since this COVID migration. I call it the COVID migration. There's a few different factors, right? But we all know it's all since the past 5-6 years,
Right.
Mostly. It's a time where people are moving out. I know young people that are saying this is too expensive. Like I can't really get a high enough job to afford to live here.
Yep.
People like me, like my wife and I bought a house and started a family last summer. I paid a lot more than I thought I was going to pay
Right.
only a few years ago. So it's not necessarily the best time to increase it. What would this be? At least 300 or 400% or more is what is proposed. $1,770 to $6,600.
Right.
So it says here to raise the fees by more than 50%, council members must agree that extraordinary circumstances exist. I think they've got a list of those extraordinary circumstances, and one of them is just the fact that it has not been raised since the 1980s.
Right.
So it's like, hey, we haven't raised it in 40 years or so. That's our extraordinary circumstance to increase it.
Yeah. Look, I think everyone can agree a modest increase might be okay.
Sure.
But I do think with everything that we've seen in the marketplace, the more you start increasing fees and the longer it takes for a permit to happen, development all of a sudden will just stop. People will go somewhere else. People will go somewhere where it's easier. And not only will people go where the developers go, but the workers will follow.
Right.
We don't have a lot of skilled tradespeople out there. We already have a shortage. We're like short 500,000 workers based on nationwide, based on all of the work that we already have scheduled. So can you imagine if it's hard to build and it takes a long time, the workers travel where it's easier to build, right? They're going to go to those places. So we have to be cautious. And people always, they want to blame the big bad developers, right? And we're just going to charge the developers. That money just gets passed down to the end user of who's going to purchase those houses.
It's going to get passed down to somebody. They're going to cut the broker's commission. They're going to pass it to the buyer. The builder's going to eat it. But if he eats it, he's going to be less inclined to be speculative, right? And build more product, which is not a good thing. There's a good argument to raising it, but I think, what did Maniscalco say here? He says he would support the update if the city increased the fee in phases.
Well, that makes sense.
Steve Michelini had a quote in here too. Shout out, Steve. What did he say, David? Scroll back up. What did it say? Yeah, we all recognize the fees probably need to be increased, but not in this way.
Right.
He's probably alluding to some sort of a phased approach to this. And it sounds like that's what you advocate for too.
Oh no, for sure. And we've had discussions, and you definitely have to stair step it. Like we understand as builders, we understand the need to make sure that we have money for infrastructure and all of that. But we also need to let's see that the money that we have been paying, where's that money been going?
True.
For infrastructure. So it's, we would love to make sure that you have the money it is for infrastructure, but let's see what you've done with the money that you've already had. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one thing that government doesn't really do all the time is show what they've done.
My fear with integrating this impact fee too dramatically is it's in combination with other factors too.
Right.
If it's a hot market and it's just raising the impact fee and then the permitting's all greased up and everything else is smooth and we've got infrastructure money and we've got a all for transportation on the table, if you've got these other factors
Right.
solved for, I think I'm a lot more comfortable with the impact fee just as a whole.
Right.
But when you combine an impact fee, I mean, we talked offline and we'll talk about now. They've come out and said that they're trying to integrate that velocity zone construction into zone A evacuation areas.
Right.
So now you're talking about an area that is flood prone, like in my area near Ballast Point, all those homes that are vintage 1960s and 70s. You're going to say that if you rebuild that home, even though it's not on beachfront, which is typically where you have to build that type of construction, you're going to have to build that property as if it was on the beach with that strong storm wave action. That will increase costs dramatically for that neighborhood and those neighborhoods that really need over the course of the next decade or two to be rebuilt.
Right.
Like, let's face it, we could get a new storm next year. If you make it very hard for builders to build new homes, those homes are just going to keep flooding and flooding and flooding. It's not to say anyone's getting pushed out. This is all going to happen over years and years and years, right?
Right.
Palmetto Beach is a good example. Like, that whole neighborhood is in a flood zone. It's in a zone A evacuation, but it needs help. It
Right.
needs incentives from builders to go in there and build new product. Well, how many builders are going to want to go in there if they have to build the same construction style they would as if they're on Clearwater Beach? I mean, to me, that's
It can't happen because it's unaffordable. Like,
yes,
even the people who live there can't afford to build to those standards.
right.
And you're forcing people out. Only the people that have tons of wealth can be able to go in there and buy those properties and build them to those standards. And it's not feasible.
And at the same time, raising impact fees.
Right.
At the same time, the permitting backlog and some of those other issues.
Right.
That's where my fear lies, is like, whoa, this is a lot at one time.
And then it stops.
Yes.
And then things stop. And then we go back to,
Rolling
no
out
growth.
the red. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you have to lower fees and, you have to make things more competitive. So I think a stair-step approach is probably the best thing to do. But you never know. You never know. And I think unless you fix permitting in a way that is meaningful, I think you can charge whatever you want.
So this is an interesting conversation right here. You believe that if the process is easy enough,
Right.
fair, streamlined, quick, impact fees aren't so much of a concern.
If people know that they can get in, they can build what they need to build by this time, and it's time certain, I think people would pay for that.
There you go.
And I don't think they will pay for, I'm going to pay this much in fees, and it's going to take me a year plus to get the permits, 2 years if I'm going through zoning.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm out.
I'm
Why
out.
would I build
Why
here?
would I do that?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah, again, and it's also the density conversation too. We talked about as well, where it's like, look, we can keep the same level of density we have in South Tampa. I think the only reason why, and you're on the planning commission, so
Right.
so this is like the perfect conversation, right? But and I'd love your opinion. I would imagine the genesis of this increase in density, first of all, is it's mandated by the state that we create this plan 20 years out.
Right.
So you have to do it. I would assume the reason why you'd increase the density, particularly in South Tampa, is because of this process we're talking about that is muddy. So in order to get these developments done, hey, I need to increase the density to make the numbers work on all this thing. If the process is smooth and efficient, okay, even if you have high impact fees, but it's smooth and efficient and the neighborhoods know exactly what they're getting,
Right.
the developers know exactly what can be done quickly and efficient, I don't think you need to increase the density necessarily. I
No,
think
you
we
don't.
can kind of, yeah, exactly.
No, you don't. If people know the rules of the game and they know that if I invest now in this amount of time, I'm going to be able to recoup or start, generating revenue off my investment, they'll do it all day long because they know the rules. It's when they invest and then all of a sudden 2 years later they're still in permitting.
Right.
That's when
Yeah.
things get hairy.
And then worst case scenario to add to that is, well, now I have to increase density, which probably could be inappropriate for particular areas, particularly in South Tampa, right? Where it's like you're on a peninsula, you're not changing some of that road footprint. You can't widen McDill, right? That might be too much density for that area in particular that's already pretty pinched. But the only reason they would need that is because the process is so gummed up, right?
Yep.
And it's very expensive to move through the process, and it's timely and all that sort of stuff. So South Tampa sort of rose up in opposition, and I went to a lot of those meetings. I was like, I got to check this out.
Right.
I got to see what's going on. Because really, I'm on that land development code advisory team, and I want to see how the neighbors really think and feel about some of these increased proposed density for the future land use. Those rooms were packed. I mean, 100+ people in each event. Curious, angry, frankly.
Sure.
People that were very upset at the proposed changes. Some sites like Offdale Mabry could have gotten an almost double number of units. And that's not good on its face.
No.
That's not good on its face. What would be better is keep the density the way it is, but make the process easier for everybody, including make the process easier for the neighbors.
Right.
Like if you're looking in a particular neighborhood to buy a home, how cool would it be to go in a user-friendly land development code, click a commercial parcel, and a rendering of what could be built would be shown to you. I think that would be fantastic.
I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But that's
not where we are.
That's not where we're at.
No, but that's where we're headed. So
we should be. Yeah.
So Clarion is the contractor who's helping the city rewrite the land development code. They've talked about that. Abby Feely's talked about that. She's dialed in on modernizing it and making it super, super, very user-friendly for neighbors and all that. So they're tracking it. I think they are waiting on you guys to finish up at the Planning Commission.
Right. Which is another whole set of...
Sure. Which should be early next year.
I would hope so.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once that's done, the city will start to move on that land development code stuff. But here's the good thing about all this conversation. There's a great opportunity to get it right.
Yeah.
There's a great opportunity to do all this stuff the right way. It's kind of a rarity to have this comprehensive plan update along with a land development code rewrite. Like there's a good, and the new technology through permitting, right? There's a big conversation around these impact fees. It's kind of great, actually, that we're talking about all of this at the same time. There's a chance you can streamline it, make it very builder friendly, make it neighborhood friendly, and have like literally one of the best examples around the country of how to economically develop and grow, but also have things easy and palpable for the neighbors and easier for the developers too. And not easier in terms of, well, I can build whatever the hell I want and I can increase density. Easy in terms of when I'm looking at a deal, when I look at a piece of dirt, I know I have confidence in what I can do here.
And certainty.
Yeah. Would you say from your, what do you call them? Associates at the builders?
Yeah. Members.
Yeah. Would you say from the members, that's their number one ask of local government is we want a level of certainty?
That's all we ask for.
Yeah.
That's all we ask for. I mean, we want to make sure that people don't get priced out of the market, right? We want to make sure that there's some levity there, right? You're not charging people. You're not taking 2 years to permit. All of this sounds great. Like, I think everything that we're doing, what you guys are doing, what we're doing in the Planning Commission, I think ultimately it's going to come down to implementation.
Yeah.
And seeing it to the end where it's implemented to a point where it's user friendly, people know what the rules of engagement are, and then they can make decisions, because that's what you really want to get to. You want to get to yes as soon as possible.
Yeah.
When people want their house fixed, when a developer is looking at something, how quickly can I get to yes? Because the longer it takes, the more money it takes.
That is absolutely true. But also time is, I think people that are not in the construction or the real estate industry or that are in development or any sort of real estate investment, they don't understand time is really the biggest component. you can miss the mark on a market. I mean, that happened with me with a condo I renovated and sold and put up for sale. I missed a market. This doesn't have anything to do with like it was the local government's problem, but I'm just letting people know timing is huge. You can miss the market. It can cause problems. If you can't move quick enough on a commercial property and you're looking for a tenant, those tenants can find other places. Like timing is huge in business.
Right.
It's paramount to the
It's
success and the growth.
it's everything. And as a contractor, and you have to develop your workforce, right? So if your workforce is delayed 6 months,
Mm,
right? You got to hold on to people. You have to, you know,
yeah.
try to upskill them while you're waiting on work. Like it's a big, I think people don't quite understand that when things take long, the workforce is there waiting to work, and they will go somewhere where the work is. If we're not certain. So it's not just, oh, how quickly can this developer get into, like, all the workers that it's going to take to build those projects. Like when you delay, you're keeping it's a job, it's a job placement thing. When it takes long, there's jobs at risk.
Yeah, I've had a few people on the show that are building some of the buildings around town. Coastal Construction was on the show and stuff
Yep.
like that. And we were talking about how right sort of during that 2020, 2021 era, when some of those buildings were entitled and started construction, laborers all over the state would come here,
Yep.
right? Because the jobs are here. So there's no reason to think that if we can't continue to grow and build, those laborers are going to go elsewhere. And then you're going to have a situation where labor costs increase,
Yep.
right? If you don't have the supply. And then that's going to cause a whole other host of issues. And the biggest problem, like the foundation issue in my head with all of this is affordability.
Right.
I was born in Tampa. I cannot believe some of the stories that my grandfather has, even that I have about buying just a home or starting a business. I've got that property in Riverside Heights I've talked about a little bit on the show. Oh my God. It's going to cost a lot of money to get that property where it needs to be.
Right.
Then a business is going to have to come in and spend, a good amount of money to build that out before they even serve a cup of coffee.
Right.
Like the investment it takes to even start, whether you're a new family looking to buy a house, you just moved here, whether you're you're an ambitious person that wants to start a business, the beginning phases, the money it takes to start is extreme. And anything we can do to try to mitigate that and avoid that is a
And
good
you're not a
thing.
big bad developer.
No, I'm just buying old buildings and fixing them up and preserving them and putting new tenants in them.
But how many more could you do if the process was
Yeah.
a lot easier?
Yeah. And I will say we're kind of working on the site work and the parking lot and all that right now. The city was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Probably because I have the show. No,
Right.
I'm just kidding. But no, they were pretty quick, but quick is not days.
Right.
Quick is like I'm a month, with the engineer and looking at this thing, and you get with the city and you get the meeting, and man, it's a long process. And all I'm trying to do is buy this building and bring something to a neighborhood that they can't even get a cup of coffee. They
Right.
don't even have a little restaurant they can go to
Right.
walk to. I'm trying to bring that to that community, and the money and the time it takes is unbelievable. And the only reason I'm doing it is just have kind of a greater vision for it.
Right.
I'm
But
not,
there's thousands of people just like you in the same
yeah,
same
exactly.
boat. They
And
have property. They have, they have things that they have dreams.
yeah,
And, your dreams, you might have dreams, but there's only a certain amount of money that you might be able to work with. And the longer it takes to develop those dreams, it makes it hard. And it shouldn't be that difficult with the technology that we have now, with everything we have available just on our phone. Like it doesn't have to be that difficult. And I think we have to invest in that. One funny thing I will tell you. So I've been in the public sector. I've been in the private sector. I've lived here my whole life. So born and raised here. It's amazing how the rules are different for the public sector and the private sector. Like it could be just as easy. So when you know how many schools that they redo in the summer, right? They don't have to go through the permitting process. They do their own permitting, right?
I'm thinking of the new city center up
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
If a private developer suggested that, would that ever get done? The easy answer is, of course not.
No.
So
Well, look at the new USF project over there by the golf course.
right.
That was supposed to go to the planning commission, and there were some comments made. And they're like, "Well, we don't really have to do that." So Why would we do that? But yet everyone else, the rules are different for the public and
That kind
for
of
the private.
doesn't that kind of make sense on some level though?
On some
Because it's for the
level,
greater good. It's for the public. It's a school. It's a fire station. Whatever it is. It's a city government building.
right? I mean, what they're going to build at USF is public-private,
Yeah, that's true.
right? I'm not saying good or bad. I'm
Sure.
just saying it shouldn't be that different.
Yeah, that's a good. Well, I think in general, as long as it aligns with the codes and the zoning and the comprehensive plan,
Right.
and you're not going against the Florida building code, what are we waiting on?
What are we waiting on?
Right.
And that's what I say this all the time. By the time you actually get to applying for a permit, you know all the land use, you know all the things that went in just to get to that point. The permit should be, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, we're all done here.
Sure.
Like, let's get this thing. It's a statewide building code. Let's get the permit and let's get people to work. I mean, that should be the easy part. That should be like the grand finale for all the work that's been put in, going through the process. The permit should be like, let's go, let's do it, let's build it. It's gone through every iteration. Land use has looked at it. People have changed land use. They've done everything. When it comes down to the permit, like that should be like green light, let's go, let's build it, let's put people to work.
This episode is brought to you by the official remodeler of the TBD podcast, Kohler House Remodeling Company. Built on the belief that every homeowner deserves a premium experience, Kohler House is redefining high-end home remodeling with their commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and quality communication. Their work speaks for itself, from condos in the towers of Channelside to 100-year-old homes in South Tampa, creating spaces that are both stunning and functional. What sets Kohler House Remodeling Company apart is their dedication to not only transforming homes into beautiful spaces, but to elevating the standard of residential general contracting. From concept to completion, every detail is handled with care, ensuring a process that's as smooth as the results are impressive. To learn more, check out our partner's website at kohlerhouse.net, KOHLERHAUS.net. This episode is sponsored by Chansey Architecture and Interior Design. Rooted in the heart of Ybor City for over 35 years, Walt Chansey and his team are trailblazers in their field. Beyond their work across the United States and the Bahamas, Chansey has shaped some of the most iconic residential and commercial spaces that serve as gateways to Cigar City, including Casa Marti and Casa Gomez. What sets Chansey Design apart is their ability to preserve the soul and character of historic buildings while seamlessly integrating modern design and functionality. They blend tradition with innovation, creating spaces that honor the past while meeting today's needs. Check out their work at www.chanseydesign.com. Is the holdup liability? Is there a fear from municipalities that if they're not very stringent on this stuff, they'll get sued?
Well, yeah, I don't think you can sue a municipality. I think
because that would fall on the contractor themselves
right.
and their liability.
So right, and that's why I think investing in private providers to come in and help the city, because you have licensed engineers, you have licensed architects who are putting their stamp on all of this. I think there's less liability with the city and the county. There's more liability. I mean, you get better bang for your buck when you have the private sector come in and use their licenses, use their liability insurance to.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
Yeah, there should be more liability that falls on the licensee.
Yep.
That's sort of the reason why you have a license.
Right.
You have that designation. You've gone through the state program and taken the tests and whatever, and you do things the right way, and the liability should fall on you.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. And then inspection-wise, what did I hear about the city doesn't do their own inspections? You have to use a private company. Is that wrong?
I think the city will use their own people, but you can bring in private providers for inspections.
That's what it was.
Yep.
You can bring private providers.
And a lot of people do, because the city can't, if you're building, a tower downtown, you know how many inspections you need all the time. So
would it make sense to completely privatize that?
I've been saying that for years, is to privatize, both the inspections and the plan reviews, because let's move the liability to where it needs to be. Why would the city have to, deal with all that? You have licensed professionals who can do that.
and have some sort of a program where they register with the city.
Sure.
You have to use an approved contractor to
Approved vendor.
inspect,
Yep, absolutely.
and then enable small businesses to get their approval. I think the last thing you would want is like one or two companies doing that.
No, you want it to be open to
Yeah,
whoever meets the criteria.
sure. So you believe that would be a better situation because it would reduce liability of the city. Private sector gets rolling, have a few companies. There's competition aspect, meaning there's a speed
Right.
aspect, there's a financial aspect,
Yep.
right? Companies are going to be like, hey, use that company. They're very quick, right?
Yep.
So if it's government run, those
That's where the
are
delays
not
are.
in the equation.
Yeah, that's the challenge is, and I tell this to people all the time. The government can't staff. You can't hire enough inspectors
Yeah,
for what we have
sure.
in the city. You can't hire enough plan reviewers. So why would you even go down that road, right? Like, let's start bringing in more of the private sector to help with that.
Why would you? Why does the city have that component?
Because they've always had it.
Got it. They've always had it.
They've always had it. They have it. And I think you need plan reviewers. I don't think you need to hire more plan reviewers to serve the needs of the community when you have licensed people out there who can private provide all of that same.
How do other municipalities in the Tampa Bay area do it? Are there any that don't have any municipal run?
I think being allowed to use private provider is a state law. So as a builder or a developer, I can choose to have a private provider. I still have to go and work through the city.
Sure.
But I have the authority to do that. I think some cities and counties make it easier for private providers.
Got it.
And I think to me, I would roll out the red carpet to anybody who wants to come help. Like, here's our vendor list. Let's get this thing moving in the right direction. Because like I said, once you get to the part where you have to build, like, that should be the easiest part.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know all the work that has to go in before you even get a permit. But once you get the building permit, like, now that process should go a lot faster.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. From your members, we've talked about their biggest pinch point is this process, right?
Mhm.
This permitting. What are they suggesting to you? Like, hey, if they could fix X, Y, Z, like what are some of the pinch points?
I think private provider is one thing. I think making sure that all cities and counties invest in a way and embrace it, because a lot of them don't. They make things a little bit more difficult sometimes if you're bringing in outside help. That would solve a lot of challenges in our workforce if you can get these jobs done faster.
Mm.
And that's what contractors are, they have the workforce. So when their workforce is sitting on the sidelines waiting on an inspection or a permit, they can't move on to the next project. They can't do the things that they want to do because of timelines. So for us, it's just that embrace of the private sector to be able to come in and help with the process, because the city, the counties, they will not be able to staff all of the the people that they need to help with this growth.
It's also it's cyclical, meaning like you have a market. There could be years, or you could have a hurricane like we're in right now, where we've got this massive backlog. The city, like I said, is dealing with over 20,000 permits,
Mhm.
but then you could have some years that are slower. So how can you have consistent staff if you're always going in this up and down cycle? You really can't.
You can't.
But that can be made up in private sector.
100%, because they're always the private side will do other stuff.
Right.
Right. They'll figure out other ways to make money. If you're an engineer, you can make money doing other things. But if there's a need to, go do plan reviews faster, I'd be in that market. Right.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you?
Yeah. 100%. So for the home builders, I think in the small business, and I know you represent commercial and the industrial, but the home builders are, and I know they have their own association.
Yep.
You mentioned too. What is the name of that association?
The Home Builders Association.
It's literally called Home Builders
Yeah.
Association. That makes sense. Yeah, I think the real problem with all of these issues we're sort of dealing with now, these growing pains. I know the commercial aspect is important, but man, the housing affordability is near and dear to me, and I can't imagine navigating as a home builder with the anticipation of this velocity zone conversation, impact fees, and then just the challenges that you have just
Right.
in general. That's a real problem.
Yeah.
That is a real problem. There's a lot of homes that were emptied out. Like in Ballast Point in my neighborhood, there was a lot. I mean, there's still empty homes in that area.
Waiting on a permit.
Probably. But the issue too is when you increase the costs for all this stuff through this construction, through the impact fees, there's going to be builders that are like, I don't know if I want to build in this area anymore.
Right.
And then we're left with product that's below the floodplain.
Yep.
Someone's going to move back into that. The person that owns it, whether they're, if it's a rental property or if it's an older person, they're probably going to stay and move back in. And what happens in the next hurricane? You're not really building a resilient future. You think you are. Like,
Right.
I would imagine that's the argument, right? Is like, well, we should require all construction to be built as if it was built on a beach. Yeah, that sounds like we would be building a more resilient city, right? In
Right.
terms of floods and storms. But the incentive structure, when you really break it down, actually it does the opposite.
It does the exact opposite. It's just it's way too expensive.
How expensive are we talking?
Well, just think about having to build up to a certain level and having to use,
Pilings, right?
pilings and cement. And, when you have to build a foundation that is 6 foot, that's a lot of concrete. I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost impossible. And I tell this to people all the time. There is no building code for water.
Right.
The only building code is you have to go higher. And that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, even if you're not in a velocity zone and you're building a new home, you still have to build it above the floodplain,
correct.
the living level,
Right.
which is completely appropriate. And guess what? Here's the beautiful part about this whole thing. We've proven, the Florida Building Code has proven in the last 20 years, it is unbelievably resilient to these
Unbelievable.
storms.
Like it is probably the best building code on the planet.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
Absolute fact.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2019, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, we took a road trip out west, and that was right after Michael hit the Panhandle. We literally drove down the Panhandle, and you could see all the older homes completely destroyed. The newer product built like late 90s and on, still standing, not a scratch. So the building code has proven to be resilient against the storm action we get on this coast. We're good. Like, why change that?
Right.
We should make it better. Okay. You should build it to beach standards, right? Where you get that front wave action. Is that more resilient on its face? Yeah, of course, that's more resilient, but it's completely unnecessary.
It's unnecessary.
Unnecessary.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the greatest point is you're just simply disincentivizing builders to get into these communities with older homes to build new product that will flood. We're lucky, knock on wood, haven't had a storm this year.
Right.
Probably won't, unbelievably dry season.
Yeah.
Not even a lot of rain.
It's like we didn't even have a storm last year. It's how dry it is out there.
Kind of interesting,
It's
right?
weird, right?
Like
Where'd all that water go?
Like even in the afternoon, like we would always get afternoon showers. Not a whole lot this year.
No, it's been very dry.
Super dry. But guess what? That ain't normal.
Nope.
That's not normal at all. And we have to plan for more storms. And if you make it very difficult for builders to build new construction product with the current Florida Building Code, hurricane standards above the floodplain, you're going to be left in the long run with more older homes that people are going to get flooded out. I don't think it's a sustainable future, and I don't know why that would be suggested. It seems like that argument kind of immediately falls flat.
Yeah, it does. There's not enough money in the world, right? Or people to live here and pay those types of prices to rebuild.
Oh my God.
And it doesn't exist. And these poor people that live there for 40 years, 50 years, they can't afford to tear down everything and build up to let's just get it to a point where it's sustainable, do the fixes that you need to do.
Well, and like we said, there's no guesswork. Like the Florida building standards currently in flood zones work.
Right.
They absolutely work.
Yep.
Now there's a whole different conversation about infill, right? Building a house up could present challenges where you've got rain coming in and it floods other properties. I'm not even really talking about that. I'm talking about just in general, right? Right. The current code as it sits. I think there is an argument though where, and I think, didn't they change that? Are you familiar with that? Where you're not allowed to build up. You can't take a bunch of dirt and put it on your property and put your
And
house
build it
on
up,
top
right?
of it. You have to build with the stem walls, stuff like that. But I think in general, things are good in terms of new construction in flood zones.
Yeah.
So, and then there's areas in particular that need that have been so hungry for redevelopment. Palmetto Beach, we get messages about people that live in Palmetto Beach. When is our time to shine? Well, you're not going to have a time to shine if any builder that goes in there has to build a house no different from living on the beachfront.
Right.
That's just not going to happen in that area.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be a glamour place. Like that's where people will,
Yeah.
with billions of dollars will go and live.
Right. Yeah. If at all. Palmetto Beach is interesting though. They're in such a great location. They've got the history. They've got that beautiful waterfront, beautiful park over there. And there's a lot of neighborhoods like that in
Yeah.
the city. There's a lot of neighborhoods that need every incentive possible
Mm-hmm.
for new development. Redevelopment.
Sure.
Bulldozing one home, building one home. I'm not talking about increased density, right? But a lot of neighborhoods across the city and frankly around the region need that. Like we all have to recognize this region really blew up multiple times. There's been many cycles, but one in particular was in the 70s when you had all these homes being built on waterfront property. It was a craze back then. St. Pete in particular has a large area north of downtown. What's that really popular area? It's on the water. There's all those canals.
Oh, what is that?
Pull up Shore Acres.
Shore Acres.
Is
Yeah.
it Shore Acres? So perfect example of an area that is in the right location with the right vintage product to be rebuilt. Yeah, pull up Shore Acres. That whole neighborhood is always underwater. And if you say, hey, any new home you build, you got to build it to this increased standard, you're going to stifle that development in an area that has an unbelievable demand
Right.
for a good reason,
And history
right?
and
History,
culture.
yeah. Yeah, this whole area here.
Yep.
That's a lot of homes, man. That's a lot of product. And a lot of, God, I personally know people that moved into this area before the last hurricanes that were like, hey, great price, great location, near the water, and then you have a storm.
Right.
And I think the storms of last year presented questions and conversations that we weren't really talking about because we didn't have a storm like that come through.
No.
I mean, in my whole life, I've asked my dad and even my grandfather, like, has the water level been this high in your lifetime? He said, no.
I've never seen
He's
it.
92.
Yeah. I've never seen it.
You
I've lived
know,
here. I'm 51. I've lived here my whole life, been through hurricanes. Never have I seen the water like that.
and we can't pretend that, oh, that'll never happen. That'll be another 100 years. Well,
Right.
maybe not.
Yeah. Maybe not.
Hopefully not.
I pray.
I pray, right. But the point is there are many, many, many neighborhoods like Shore Acres and Palmetto Beach that need redevelopment, that are waterfront. Let's face it, that's where people want to live.
That's why you come down here.
That's why you come down to Florida.
You want to get as close as you can get to the water, right?
That's exactly right. I have said some stuff about the coastal high hazard area. Let's try to inhibit any development in the coastal high hazard area. Let's think about this, right? This is where people want to live. This is where people move to Florida to live in the coastal high hazard. Go to Sunny Isles Beach. They have 90-story skyscrapers right on the beach. It's not that a coastal high hazard building by itself has issues, right?
Right.
It's these old vintage product in these areas are the ones with the problem. You could have a category 5 direct hit and those skyscrapers will still be standing.
Yep.
What will not be standing is the 1960s and 70s homes in those neighborhoods. Those are the ones through time, you don't kick people out. Through time, you provide the right incentive structure where over the decades, those all get rebuilt.
Right.
And then like when I'm your age or older or whatever, we're left with this super resilient waterfront, great community with newer product homes.
I think ultimately it's like, what's the definition of resilience, right? I look at my friend, his house got flooded. He's on Reddington Shores. House was built in the 60s. It's block.
Right.
It's a block house. Luckily, FEMA ruled that he didn't have to rebuild. But, those houses are is resilient mean I can get back in my house and start living in it? Like, what's the definition of resilient, right? Like, ultimately, okay, am I going to build it up to a certain point, not be able to afford it? Right now, I don't owe anything on my house, and now I have to rebuild it and, have a $500,000 mortgage. I think resilient is, let's get these people back into their houses in a way that could be better for the next time. But there is no, like I said, there is no building code for the amount of water. I don't even live in a flood zone, and I got water almost in my house.
Wow.
It was so much water at so
Yeah.
much time. Will it happen again? Yeah, probably. But I mean, resilient means to me, how quickly can we rebuild and get to where we were, before? Because that house has been there since 1960.
Right.
That's pretty resilient.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I think that code was, let's just do it with block, and, if it washes out, then we just,
Right.
re-drywall and go back at it.
I like that definition a lot. I think it's perfect. I think that's what homeowners feel too.
Right.
Hey, I evacuated, the storm came through, and now I'm here cooking breakfast, right? The next day. Like, that is resiliency.
Yep.
And some of those homes that were built in the 60s and 70s are very resilient. Most of them are block in that era.
Yep.
They're actually perfect. I grew up in a home like that. Little 3-2, two-car
Terrazzo
garage,
floors.
terrazzo floor, right? The whole thing. I mean,
Terrazzo doesn't get ruined in water.
terrazzo, you talk about a resilient building product, like terrazzo floors, man. Those things are going to be there the next 100 years.
I mean, if it wasn't for drywall, everything would be resilient.
Yeah.
Rewire electrical and,
Have you seen, David, people talking shit about like Americans building with cardboard? In Ukraine, we build with bricks and concrete. Do you think there's a future where drywall is out of the equation?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's so easy.
I don't think so. It's so easy. It's, it's efficient.
You can modify
it works.
it.
Yeah.
Have you seen, you know what I'm talking about though?
Yeah.
Have you seen the
Well,
Europeans talk about?
now they have the 3D printers that'll print the whole house in concrete.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. There's these alternative buildings today. And I definitely want to talk about, like, we've had on St. Pete Box who retrofits these shipping containers, ties them down with hurricane ties on slab. They're super resilient. Able Nook, I met that guy, Sean, the other week. Really cool product. It's this modular product, proprietary, completely hurricane resilient, really, really cool. 3D printed homes. And then you've got the traditional drywall, block construction, et cetera, which we've been building that way for a long, long time.
Right.
Do you see a scenario in the future where those alternative forms of construction start to take more of a market share?
Yeah, I think we're already seeing it because of the labor shortage, right? You have to start thinking about, how do I build things with less people, right? So that's where technology is coming in, and we're starting to get way creative on building materials, prefabbing a lot of, these buildings that you see now, like hospitals, like they build the bathrooms for every hospital outside of and they just plug them in.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Oh, absolutely. Prefab is right now the biggest trend in our industry.
And so, for example, with a hospital, they would build the bathroom, meaning putting together the interior envelope
and just plugging it in.
Really?
With shower, toilet,
tile
sink,
and everything.
Tile, everything.
So not even installing the tile on site.
Nope, it's all plugged in.
Whoa.
They do that for hotels too.
Is TGH right here doing that?
I think TGH has done that.
Very, very interesting. So this is the new big thing, is prefab.
Mm-hmm.
Prefab regarding even shipping
because it's a
containers,
controlled, it's a controlled environment, right? So you can have all your workers in one area doing the prefab, and then you're just installing on the job site.
On almost every point we've talked about in this conversation, labor you always bring up.
Yep.
Why is that?
Well, because we don't invest in electricians the same way we invest in history majors, right? And I think we run an apprenticeship training program. We're training 450 apprentices in 10 different trades. We need to start investing in that, because AI is not going to take away an electrician.
Right.
AI is not going to take away a plumber.
Right.
We need those jobs. We need those pathways to be as advertised as possible, because, people tell me this all the time. Like, there's no unemployed electricians.
Mm-hmm.
There's no unemployed plumbers. There's a lot of unemployed, history majors out
That's
there.
so true. Anytime I work with any sort of subcontractor trade, how's it going? How's business? Oh my God. I'm so busy. I have so
Yeah,
much work. It's so true. You never hear a plumber go, I can't find work.
never.
Now, in your career, there's been eras where that's absolutely
Well,
happened.
I'll give you a story. So in 2007, when I started at ABC, 2009, the bottom dropped out. The economy we went into a recession. The only thing that was being built in this region was Derek Jeter's house. That was the biggest thing being built, at that particular time. And I'm like, why did I get into, the construction association,
Yeah,
at this point? Um, but you still need the plumbers and the electricians regardless, because what are you going to pay a plumber when he comes to your house on the weekends and you don't have any water? You're going to pay him whatever he wants,
exactly.
right? So having those skills, whether you're working, for a company or working by yourself, like you'll never be, you'll never be without a job.
So the education component, I would imagine, first of all, young people need to understand how lucrative this stuff
It
is.
is extremely lucrative. We have apprentices that start off, they'll be starting off, 15 to 17 bucks an hour, just learning
Sure.
the trade. By the time they graduate, they're making 150 grand a year. You want to talk about affordability? These people are making really good money. They can afford, the $400,000 houses. I have I have a couple of students that started. They drive Ford F-150s. By the time
Yeah.
they're done, because it's one of those things that they are always working, whether they're working for a company or working on the side to fix people's houses. Like it is a very very lucrative career.
King Ranch edition.
King Ranch. That's
King
right.
Platinum edition.
That's right.
Not that Larate or whatever the hell it's called.
Right, with a bass, they could tow their bass boat with
The
them.
whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. So with these, so is it mostly young people?
It's
People graduate.
we're starting to see younger people. I would like them to come in right out of high school. Right now, we're getting them around the average age of the apprentice in our program is probably 27 years old. I would like to get that number to like 18, 19. Start them early, because the beauty about apprenticeship is you're working for a company during the day and you're going to school at night learning the trade. And by the time they graduate, they're
Super dialed in.
it's dialed
Yeah.
in. They become superintendents. They're project leads. They're doing everything that they need to do, and they're making a shit ton of money.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing with trade jobs is the ability to build a business around it.
It's the quickest way to own your own business is to learn a trade and figure out a way to monetize it.
I think Red Cap Plumbing
Yeah,
was a local business that was built up. I saw on the news, didn't they sell to a private equity company?
private equities are buying companies right and
Holy,
left.
I mean, these guys are getting paid
Yep,
millions and millions and millions.
that's what's happening now. They are buying the labor force. These private equity companies are buying the labor force.
Do you think that presents any future issue? It sounds good. I like the idea of people getting in trade jobs, building businesses, and getting paid a bunch of money. But anytime you have this conglomerate, it kind of presents issues.
And I think we see that in cycles. I think you see sometimes, because the labor market is so tight,
Yeah,
people are trying to buy that labor, and because it's a commodity,
right.
right? But you still have Johnny, who's a plumber, that says, I could do it better than them, and I'm going to do it myself, and I'm going to take all the work that they can't do. So
Mm.
it's the biggest, to me, it's the biggest opportunity for somebody graduating from high school right now is like, let me learn to be a plumber. Let me work for somebody, let me learn, and then let me start my own business, and maybe I'll get bought up. That's what I
Yeah.
want. And then, I have a 2-year non-compete and I'll do it all over again.
I mean, think about it. If you were 18, let's just play this out,
Yep.
right? If you're 18, how long would it take you to go through that program to be on your own making 150 bucks an hour or
Uh,
150 grand a year?
I would say for us, what we've seen is they start at the end of 4 years, which is the end of apprenticeship. They're making 150 easy.
So you're like 22,
Yeah.
making fantastic money.
Yeah. And you made
tons of
made
business.
money the whole time, but now you're really making money because you're a master electrician or a master plumber.
And at that point, you could get a couple more guys, get a couple vans, and then by the time you're 30,
Yeah.
potentially you could sell that business for millions of dollars.
100%.
There's your plan right there. So is that your message to these people that are joining this program?
Yep. That's what we tell them all the time. They're like, I have to work, I have to go outside. I have to work out, I'm like, yeah, you do. And guess what? You'll be rewarded.
There's so many new businesses and avenues a young person can go down today, but this is the tried and true. This is something that's been proven over the decades
Yeah,
and absolutely is not going anywhere. I mean, no technology we've talked about today or
nothing.
could even think of could replace good hands working on skilled labor,
Right. And knowing how to fix things.
knowing how to fix things. That
Yep.
will always be in demand.
It will always be. You can watch as many YouTube videos as you want to figure it out, right? Um, but you still need somebody who can actually go in, work with their hands, do the work, build something, and get it accomplished. That's never going to go away.
And so could a young person come to you, join this program, and then you've got these members, right? You said 600 members. Can they just plug into one of these businesses?
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people belong to ABCs, because we have this apprenticeship program. So people come to us. I'll give you a story. So uh, I have a lady who is a dear friend of mine. She called me and she's kind of like in tears, right? She's like, my grandson, he's graduating from Jesuit. Um, he has all these scholarships to all of these great schools, and all he wants to do is be an electrician. And I'm like, that's amazing. I said, bring him to the office right now. Bring him to the office right now. I will get him a job tomorrow. So, long story short, we got him a job at Burrell Electric. He's working at Burrell. He's going into his 4th year. The guy loves what he does. He's making a ton of money. He's got his own house. He's got his own car. Like, what else?
Just killing it.
Just killing it. And and he's just starting.
Right.
And he's just starting. No telling where he will be in the next 4 years.
So what inspired a young person like that to even know that this was available?
Apparently, his father raised him well, because his father's a plumber. But his father said, no, you're going to go to school, you're going to go to school, you're going to go to school. But he's like, why would I do that? Well, I see what you're doing. I want to do that.
Oh, that's amazing. David, your dad was an HVAC contractor for how long? 40 years? 35. And I think you even told me your father would kind of tell you that that's the right way to go. Yeah.
And then my cousin that I grew up with, he just journeyed out for an apprenticeship for an electrician.
A lot of this stuff runs in the family kind of thing.
So I will tell you, my personal story is I come from a generation of general contractors. So my grandfather's a carpenter.
Oh, wow.
All my uncles are carpenters. I was the marketing guy, right? I went to USF, got my marketing degree. Full circle, I'm back in the construction industry, where I think, where my roots are. But my grandfather, my dad, my uncles, they could build anything. They built more houses in West Tampa than any other contractor, around. But I remember going on job sites with my grandfather. He's like, oh, you want to go to college? I'm like, okay, I go to college. But this is where the money is. My grandfather had beach houses. He drove a big Cadillac. I'm like, why don't I want that too? That's
hell yeah. So tell me about your family. Your grandfather was a builder in West Tampa?
Yep. Steve Cona and Sons, general contractor. They built tons of houses in West Tampa.
And so what that would have been?
They're still 60... my uncle still owned the business. So they're doing more remodel work and smaller projects. And
so they were maybe doing those like 1960s.
You look at a lot of the houses in West Tampa, and they actually built a lot of houses in Carrollwood. They built,
Amazing.
Yeah.
So is your family, does it go way back in West Tampa?
Oh yeah. So I am, depending on what side of the family you're on, probably 5th generation.
Amazing.
Tampanian. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I did a little talk at the West Tampa Chamber of Commerce. And so for that talk, I looked up all the history about West Tampa, and EJ Salcinas did an article, I think it was last year, about how it was all formulated. And the genesis story of West Tampa is Hugh McFarlane, who is an attorney from Scotland, ended up coming down and got into real estate development and bought 200 acres on the other side of the Hillsborough River from Ybor, and built out West Tampa, and kind of in the same manner as Ybor.
Yep.
Immigrants, cigar workers, little commercial corridor. He named all the streets after trees, right? Beech, spruce, all that. I think they changed beech though. Isn't it? I don't think it's Beech, which is the tree.
No, it's like the beach.
It's like the beach with the sand. Howard Avenue, right? Howard was his son. And yeah, like that story was so cool, how they built that community in the late 1800s. Then it was eventually annexed in 1925. So it sounds like your family was a part of that.
So my great grandparents were cigar rollers in Ybor City.
Wow.
And then when their kids got old enough to marry, then they moved to West Tampa.
Yeah.
And then when my dad got married, he moved to Carrollwood.
That's like the progression,
That's like
right?
the progression. And now I live in West Chase. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah, exactly. West Chase is like the new kind of
Right,
Carolwood
right.
type thing. Yeah, that's so my great grandmother rolled cigars. That's her cigar cutting and pressing equipment right there. I'm so lucky to still have that.
That's amazing.
Do you have any heirlooms like that?
I don't. That's amazing though. So all my grandmothers were cigar rollers. My great grandfather was a lector.
Oh, wow.
So like, it's the Italians and the Cubans. That's the meld of my family. So my dad's side's all Italian, my mom's side's all Cuban, and
Classic Tampa story.
that's it, right?
Right there.
All the best food in the world.
That's right. Hell yeah. And West Tampa is going through a real resurgence too. The city's done a lot of good work. They're paving the roads. The CRA is doing the new parks. You've got the new West River Walk happening.
And those are great houses too. Like those are
so cool.
They're great houses.
I would anticipate when all that is complete. I mean, it's happening right now. It's been happening, but at a more dramatic level, you're going to have this really big demand
Yep.
for West Tampa.
Yep.
I mean, you've even got your own little downtown over there, right? Main Street, Howard and Armenia, that area. And then a river walk. It's going to change that community in terms of the demand. You're going to have a lot of people that wouldn't otherwise consider that area go, oh, this is actually really cool.
Yeah.
Which that community has needed for decades.
Yeah. The younger generation needs to move into that.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's needed it for a long time. Those roads were in disrepair for so long. The parks, I mean, the buildings, et cetera. It's really cool to drive down that main street and you're like, oh, new business. Oh, that, old building's been renovated.
Yep.
Private and public working together and doing great projects in that neighborhood is really, really cool to see.
Yeah. No, it's going to be amazing. And that's just going to be how, South Tampa expands, right?
Yeah. Yeah. South Tampa was always Kennedy, right? Was
Right.
sort of the
That's the
cutoff.
line. Yeah.
And now I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Who's counting? But
yeah, our ABC office is on Himes and Spruce, right across from the West Tampa Water Tower. So
you're living it.
We're living it. Yeah,
You're living it.
We like to see the improvement.
But here's the thing. That's all private sector demand, right? And then you've got the city kind of cleaning it up and making it look better, paving the roads, et cetera, doing the parks. What we talked about earlier, the reason why it's so important to get this stuff figured out in a really methodical way is to take advantage of all the good things happening.
Right.
The last thing I would want to see is the start of an incredible revitalization of a community. I mean, when they tore up those old streetcar tracks in the late 1940s, and then you had urban renewal, the highway came through, literally bulldozed straight through that community. They've needed help for many years. They've needed that injection of money. I would hate to see some of these policies move forward and inhibit some of the good investment into a community like West Tampa.
Right. One of the things that we're going to start working with the city on, and we've talked to some developers too, is let's start creating like some permit go zones, right? Like where we can get things done super fast. Let's pilot it and see, like West Tampa would be a prime location for it. Ybor would be a prime. Ybor channel side area, like that would be prime to like say, this is where we want the growth to be. Let's incentivize it, and not by giving people money, but by making it faster for them to get the work done. And I think that's something that we're going to start working with city council on to like, let's target certain areas where we make it super easy for you to rebuild,
right? Yes.
Invest.
Yes. Start a business.
Like let's do permit go zones in these areas and see how well it does, in a certain amount of time.
And then here's the other thing too. And I've talked about this a little bit before. Gentrification of these areas. Okay. When I talk about take advantage of the growth, I'm not saying push people out. What I'm saying is you make it easier for everybody. And that person that's lived there for 20 years or that kid that grew up in that neighborhood, don't move.
Don't move.
Stay in that neighborhood. Create that business. Take on that ambitious idea. The problem we have now is it's so expensive and difficult, let's say, to even serve that first cup of coffee or that boutique or whatever that may be, where those people unfortunately have to move out of the area. I don't want to see that. I want to see the people that live in West Tampa, the people that live in Ybor stay and be a part of this change.
Yep.
Like, be ambitious. They are ambitious. I get messages and emails all the time about people that live in these two areas in particular that are like, hey, I'm trying to open up this and that, and my door swings the wrong way and I got caught up on this and that. I'm like, I hate to hear that, because you are doing the right thing.
Right.
You're staying in your community. You're trying to rebuild it.
You're trying to do it the right way by getting permits.
Exactly. You're trying to do, yeah. You're doing what you can in rebuilding and staying in your own community. And that is how we avoid the washing of our community and the erosion of our culture and of our history. I think you can grow and also be methodical about how you grow. And when we both kind of talk about, I'm not speaking for you, but like when you're saying fast tracking West Tampa in particular, right?
Yep.
It's like, no one's advocating to change those design guidelines.
No.
Like, you got to keep it authentic. You got to keep it West Tampa. All of that stays. Make it easier for everybody to follow those guidelines.
100%. Make it easier and make it affordable.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't have to take a year to fix something or to get a permit. Like, let's go. Like, let's get things done. And like I said, when people have surety and they know the rules and the rules are easy to follow and it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars, those people will stay. Those people will,
exactly.
The kids will move into their parents' house.
Exactly.
That's what you want, right?
Yep.
You want them to pass the house down to the next generation. And right now, that's almost impossible.
It is almost impossible. And that's where you get changing dynamics too quickly, and it sort of erodes those old stories. Like, my great grandmother used to watch me after school, and she was actually born in a house in Ybor City. And some of the stories she would tell me about that community, her husband owned this hardware store, and then they would go get their bread from this family. And then it's like people were so connected back then through small business.
Yep.
And there's really never been a more difficult time to start a small business. Like, if you want to go buy a little building and renovate it and comply, and do the right thing, you got to really want to do that, because it's going to cost you a lot of time and money. And I think as long as people are doing the right thing and following the right guidelines, architecturally, et cetera, let's go. What are we waiting on?
Yeah. And that cost is, and that's why you see Starbucks popping up in West Tampa, right?
Yes.
Instead of cafe con leche shops.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes. I think if you go, if we continue down this path, unfortunately, we're just going to be left with Chipotle's and Best Buys and Starbucks. And I'm not sure anyone wants that in Tampa. No. I think Tampanians know we really have something special. Your family, my family, we're all a part of that. And we need to make it easier for the future generations to do what they need to do in this community.
We do. And I think sometimes we try too hard when it's the answers are really simple. Like, let's just make it easier for the people who are there now. Let's make it easier for them to build. Let's make it easier for them to pass their house on to the next generation. If they want to rebuild it, great, to the same standards or whatever. Like, let's just make it easier and faster. And that's the way you keep the history and the traditions going.
Is a part of what your organization does is advocate for policies?
100%. Yeah. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to build.
Yeah.
Right. And from permit to, you can start collecting property taxes, right? Like, I want to make that process easy. The land use, all that stuff is difficult. It's not really in my realm, except being on the planning commission, of course.
Sure.
But like my goal is to make it as easy as possible when you're ready to build, that you can get into that building as quickly as possible.
Have you been in this community your entire career?
Yep.
Born and raised,
raised, Chamberlain High School.
So I actually spoke to my grandfather about some of these issues recently. And I'm like, how did you do it back in the day? Like, when you were mayor? And he's told me that he had two kind of avenues. There was like a big business avenue with a particular person in charge, and a small business avenue. And those organizations would help you through the, municipal process, express permitting. He said I forgot the numbers, but they built so many homes in South Tampa during that time through
Mhm.
this express permitting program. It'd be interesting to bring something like that back where there was a sort of dedicated lane. Because let's be real, a lot of the product that's built is relatively the same, which is a good thing for a municipality because then you kind of know what you're getting.
Right.
I think if you have a standardized process, okay, well then let's roll, right? I mean, you could get permits done extremely quickly.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
And there's permits that 90% of the remodels are kitchen and bath. Like, why does that take a long time? Right? Like that should be like get an architect and an engineer to sign off on the permits. Let's just go. Let's just build that stuff. That would help people in West Tampa so much. Like I'm just going to rebuild the kitchen and the bath. Like why do I have to wait 6 months to get a permit when I can get an architect and an engineer to sign off, let the contractor work, let it get it done. Like let's take the common ones out of the system
yeah.
and make it easier.
What are the members telling you time wise? I mean, is that accurate? 6 months for
Oh, for the commercial side, we're looking at a year plus
wow.
for commercial development. I mean, look, I just saw Richard Gonsmart had a post on Casa Santo Stefano, his restaurant.
Right.
Took him
5-year anniversary.
Took 3 years to put the roof on the top deck to get a permit. Like that's crazy.
3 years?
3 years. The restaurant's only been open 5. It took 3 years to actually put a roof on the top. Like that, it's actually unacceptable.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Unacceptable because I think we need to recognize they have the capital and the longevity and the generational strength to sit there and wait for that. How many people are willing to wait 3 years to get their rooftop business going? They did it. They've got a restaurant next door. They own a lot of they have a strong interest in kind of waiting it out. How many other businesses have been stopped because they can't wait 3 years? They can't go through that process.
If you look at all the e-board development right now, and the biggest constraint that I think Daryl Shaw will tell you is that it's the interior build outs of the location, and people can't get into their business fast enough. Lady wants to open an art gallery and she, wants to put up a wall, and it's taking her a long time to get that done. Like that shouldn't happen. Like that's the easy stuff that shouldn't bog down the system, in my opinion.
Magic wand, how do you fix that? I mean, we talked earlier about some of those technology and stuff like that. But
I think the cities and counties have to embrace letting it be okay for licensed architects and engineers to sign off on development. Like let it register with the city, let them go through the process. But the city should never hold up somebody who wants to do an interior build out, remodel their house to a point where it becomes unaffordable for somebody to wait to do it.
it's not a manpower thing. It's not.
I don't think so. I think there's plenty of people who have the capability to approve permits.
So it almost bakes down to almost like the mindset.
It's definitely a mindset thing.
Interesting.
I think city likes to have a certain level of control. And I think if I had a magic wand, I'm like, you can still control it, but you can let others do the work faster. Right? Like you can have somebody sign off, an architect and an engineer with liability, to let somebody remodel their house and give the contractor permission to build it in 30 days and not 6 months.
So it comes down to the perceived liability
Correct.
that the city is taking on. And they feel that if they wait and they're more detail oriented, regardless of if it screws up the business's plans or whatever,
Right.
then that's a good thing because they're being as safe as possible.
Right.
But not counting on the business's interests, the timing, the money.
Just think of all the stuff that happens, without pulling a permit because it's so difficult, right? I mean,
well, that's the other thing too, is people, because it's muddy, people duck the process,
right?
Which is, I mean, now you're creating other problems,
right? So if you make it easier to say, look, I have an architect sign off on it, an engineer sign off it, I register it with the city, I pay the fee, and I get to work within, 5 or 6 days.
Sure.
Like that to me makes sense.
Makes
It
sense to me too.
it doesn't make sense to say, oh, I got to wait for a permit. I got to go online and, wait and keep asking them where my bathroom remodel is in the process. And like that kind of stuff to me is what's holding us back from being where we want to be um, as a city, because you have to manage that growth because it's not going to stop. It'll run in flows, but it's not going to necessarily stop.
I think an important distinction too is it's certainly not going to stop from the national tenants. If Chipotle or any other national, business wants to get into a market, they will. And they will through their lawyers and their money and their time. And that's at the rejection of small business. It really, really is.
This speed to permit is keeping people from starting those coffee shops.
Yes.
It's keeping, the mom and pops, wanting to open a restaurant. Like that's the biggest thing. If you can figure that piece out, the influx of businesses that will start, the culturally, the cultural restaurants that we want in this area, like that will all happen if we can just figure out a way to make things easier.
That's the stories of my great grandparents, and I'm sure your grandparents have told you the same thing, and you probably even witnessed it too, when you were younger. But it's the foundation of our entire city and our society is small businesses working together, sharing resources, moving goods and services around a market. The last thing I want to see in Tampa, first of all, the commercial corridors in South Tampa are so atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it bakes down to the issues we're talking about. It's very, very difficult to redevelop these areas. When you look at McDill, Dale Mabry, Manhattan, Henderson Boulevard, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
The infrastructure looks bad. The buildings don't look good. Now, there's been a lot of good changes in recent years, but we are a long, long, long way off. And I know the reason is because it's extremely half these properties you can't even redevelop.
Right.
We have such an antiquated suburbanized code. Like you go to buy a property off McDill and Beta Bay, what can you develop there? When you integrate a parking code and all these different setbacks, and you got to have a dumpster, and for every 10 spaces, you need the parking this and that. It's like, can you even redevelop this 50-year-old shitty building here?
Right. And the cost to even get it to, to where it needs to be, knocking it down is way cheaper. Right.
Right.
Ultimately. But if you made it simpler, people would put money into reinvesting it in a way that they don't have to necessarily rebuild. I can do a certain amount, put my restaurant in there, make it look nice.
And then we get going.
Right.
Then we get going on small businesses. Now I'm visiting my neighbor's little coffee shop or restaurant around the corner. Now we're building a community.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to see is all those parcels just get developed into Burger King, Starbucks, Chipotle.
Because those are the only people who can afford to wait out the process.
Exactly. These people, these organizations will literally acquire property over years to be able to get into a market.
Yep.
I mean, you're already seeing that in a lot of areas. And especially as I mean, I live in South Tampa, that's why I'm bringing it up so much, but especially like Hyde Park Village, as that increases in its price level. I was raised by a single mom. She used to take me there. She'd shop at Talbot's. I'd go to the little Sharper Image right there. Like, there ain't no Talbot's in Hyde Park Village anymore.
No.
That's going to be Cartier and Hermes. And we want these ambitious people in this community to open their own little boutique or open their own little restaurant.
Right.
And that is extremely difficult to do. And I think if you don't allow those people to move forward, I think you're only going to be left with national tenants and these expensive boutiques,
which is a shame based on how we are as a city and the culture and the heritage that we have. It's almost unacceptable to actually think about that. I mean, I see it in West Chase too. I mean, I've lived in West Chase, almost my whole adult life. And like, there are people in West Chase that would invest in new restaurants and new things, but it costs so much money. Mm-hmm. And just to even serve your first cup of coffee, like you said, the price, the investment outweighs itself. So you can't do it. So yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. And we need to embrace making it easier for small businesses to operate something in locations where
it makes sense.
Where it makes sense.
Yeah. I think we should also say it's really not just a Tampa problem. I think it's I mean, I'm not really, I certainly don't track other municipalities as much as I do Tampa, but it's really a national issue.
It
Like
is.
American cities have broken down in this same manner. This sort of Tampa story is actually relevant to almost every American city.
Right.
Um, every American city had the streetcar network and the small businesses. And we've, through urban renewal and through the decades, we've gone so far away from that. And that's why when you go on a road trip and you pull off into a small town, oh, there's the Burger King and the Subway. It all looks the same.
Right.
You want to talk about culture and identity and the preservation of a particular city. You're not going to do it by only incentivizing those national tenants.
Right.
And I think Tampa in particular, because of just the grid and the layout and the history of our families, we have a really interesting, and the available land, some of the little historic areas, Palmacia should look like Winter Park. You should have wide sidewalks and shaded trees. And I mean, it should be like a little boutique kind of restaurant shopping
Yep.
destination in a way more expressed way than it is now. There's so many areas like that around the city. So I think Tampa just in general has this awesome opportunity to become the next great iteration of the American downtown.
And we can do it. I just think it takes a little bit of creativity and a little bit of government saying, we don't necessarily have all the answers. Let's just make, smart people who want to invest here, make it easier for them to do that. Whether it's the mom and pops, or let's just carve out areas and let's see how it works. Like West Tampa, Ybor. Let's carve it out where the culture is and see what we can do to fast track and let small businesses go in there and do what they need to do.
On a positive note, the private sector demand is huge. I'm assuming your members have a lot of interest,
Yep.
right? They've got developers and different brands coming to them wanting to be in the market, which is a great thing.
Yep.
That's a good thing to have. I think this community was hungry for that for many, many years.
No, we needed. I mean, we needed, the high-end hotels and the things that we're starting to get now, which is great. And that's because people are here. People want to be here. That's a great thing. And so you have to invest in that. And you also have to let your communities, develop in a way that makes sense and that's affordable for them as well.
You can do both.
Yep. You
Yeah.
definitely can do both.
So is there I might have asked this in the very beginning. I can't remember if we were on or not, but is there a municipality? Because you said you represent Gainesville down to Marco Island.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a little town or a municipality that you feel really gets it right?
I think a lot of them get it right in certain areas, right? I think sometimes Tampa gets it right for big projects like the airport, for example, right? I think they're getting it right over there with the way they're doing it, the way they're fast tracking their project. I think where we get it wrong is on the smaller side and the mom and pops. We don't let those. There's so many rules. Every piece of land has a piece of rule, has different set of rules, right? So if we don't make it easy for the small investors to win in this market.
Yeah. Yeah, because it is a big feat and there is credit due to something like Water Street. I mean, that was relatively quick. I think they started
But it took a lot of
Yeah.
local government concessions too.
That's
right?
true. It's very true. But
The
it'll
government
pay
has
off.
to want it. Oh, it'll definitely pay off. I mean, that'll change the landscape of Florida for a long time for conventions and everything down there. Like that area is just amazing.
And a new Ferris wheel coming too.
Yeah.
David,
gonna
you
be
gonna ride
something
the
else.
Ferris wheel?
Of course.
Hell yeah,
First
man.
guy on it.
I was at the Heron last night on the 21st floor, and I think that's about, because I looked up the height, that's about where you'll be. And I was like, you know what? Pretty good view. Like,
yeah. It's pretty nice.
it's pretty nice. I think initially my thought was, well, what the hell are you going to look at over there? But I was up there thinking, you know what? This is kind of cool. Like, you can see Ybor and then the port. And the port's, I think the port's cool. Like, I've always loved the big ships and the cranes and stuff. And then you got the water in downtown. I think it'll be kind of neat. I don't know if I'll ride it every day, but
Well, I mean, you look at, when you see Monday Night Football or Sunday night, you see the landscapes of Tampa and how different they look
right.
than just like 5 years ago. Can you imagine now we're going to add the Ferris
The
wheel?
Ferris wheel, yeah,
It'll be cool.
on TV. It'll be cool. You know, they're actually manufacturing it in Germany, putting it on a ship, shipping it over here and then installing it and putting it together
That'll
on
be
site
awesome.
here. Yeah, really, really, really interesting.
And I think what's going on in Ybor is going to be amazing.
100%.
I mean, that's where it all started here in Tampa, and for us to revitalize that area is just amazing.
And let's hope the Rays end up there too, at Ybor Harbor. I think if that ownership team wants an authentic, walkable district and experience, that is the place to do it.
Yep.
There's nothing more authentic than Ybor City. And you could try to recreate it on Dale Mabry at HCC, and there's certainly, by the fairgrounds, it's not going to be the same.
No, it won't. I mean, I think wherever it goes, I think there's potential for it to be what it needs to be, especially for West Tampa if it's going to be around Dale Mabry. I mean, I'm just for the Rays to be here.
Yeah, I agree.
If I had to pick a spot, obviously Ybor would be to me, makes the most sense. But
my heart is in Ybor.
Yeah, for sure.
But I agree with you in the sense that, hey, look, let's get it in Tampa.
Yep. That's where it needs to be.
That ball team needs to be in Tampa. Steve, thanks for being here today.
You bet, man.
This was a lot of fun.
It was a pleasure.
This was awesome.
Good seeing you.
How can people get in contact with you? You've got 600 members. How can someone join the internship or the apprenticeship program? Is awesome.
Yeah, then go to our website, abcflgulf.org, abcflgolf.org.
And you do events as well. There's
we do, yep. So
cool networking stuff.
Yeah, we are. Yep. There's the website. Talks about apprenticeship, the pipeline. I think we do. We actually did an event today. I was at a clay shoot this morning before I got here. So
Thundercloud?
No,
it's Tampa Bay Sporting Clays.
Thundercloud's pretty nice.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. No, we are at Sporting Clays this morning.
That's the OG, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to shoot tomorrow. I'm excited about. Steve, thanks again for a great conversation.
No, it was a great time.
All righty. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Take care.